Okay, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, 17th of April, 2018. This is the DAX Morning Briefing, and we're going to take a look at the price action from yesterday before we take a look at today. And still not 100% here, as you can probably hear from the voice, but hopefully it's clear and you'll be able to hear. Okay, so we're going to take a look at swings and balance points today. It's a really, really important skill. We spend a lot of time studying this. And I recommend to everybody to do the same thing if you're serious about your own professional development as a trader. So it's pretty straightforward when you think about the basics of it. You're looking for lower lows and lower highs if we're trending down, or higher highs, higher lows if you're trending higher. Now, we know from hindsight that yesterday was a bearish day, but you never really know as the day is developing, so it's difficult to see. So you could start mapping out your previous part of the day just to kind of see where things stand. And a bit of a double bottom there kind of ruins things. That's a pretty much sideways looking trend based on the small sample size that that board is providing. And you can't really garner too much information from that. So you can just simply start fresh. Now, we had a gap open yesterday and it gapped higher. The gap closed within the first hour and a half, and that was the first kind of mini wave that we saw. There's one bit of interesting information inside that, which is this. Just little things that you'll start to spot as you get more familiar with this, will be things like that. Excuse me. It's just a mini zigzag, can often form a balance point on a particular move. There's lots of different ways you can spot a balance point. A zigzag is one of them. A wide range bar might be another. A gap can be another. So there's lots of different ways to do it, but that's one that looked interesting to me. So we'll just pull the tool out here and just take a look and see where that fell inside the mini wave here. And it was roughly about 50%, wasn't it? Half wave, the kind of two parts of that, excuse me, zigzag, the left side and the right side. So that's pretty interesting. So we'll see whether or not that actually does form. I did, you can see it, the low of this particular first mini wave. So you can mark that out. You had a retracement from that point. That's now a confirmed lower high because we've kind of pierced the previous low. So you start to watch out for any kind of clues, any signs for the next wave. Just going to zoom in a little bit here. Here we go. So as price action starts to form away again, that's a little bit interesting. You'll notice that you've got this kind of ledge here. Lots of different mini tops on this 250 tick chart, all kind of forming around about that 465 handle on CFD. So that could be interesting to mark out. So, for example, if you were to anticipate that kind of little ledge being a balance point, a value area where price is happy to do business, then the opposite reaction will be on the other side of that. It'd be interesting to see where this particular mini wave looks to bottom out. So I'll just kind of mark that out for now, just to see how that looks. Well, you get a reaction down there, don't you? Definitely get a reaction down there. So that's actually a pretty nice way of calling that. So that's another example of a balance point, slightly different one to the previous one. This one is a value area balance point. Price was happy to do business in that little zone. And that's the kind of center of the move. That was your initial move here. So the opposite and equal reaction on the other side is where it bottoms out. A couple of different ways you could look at forecasting these things. So again, we'll kind of wait to see how that one moves, but that's clearly a lower low. So we're looking for this to give us some clues as to where price is going to top out. If it takes out this previous high, then we've got a change in behavior because that trend is no longer a trend. We've got a swap. So if it stays below it and it takes out this previous low, then we can confirm this as a lower swing low, lower swing high, should I say, mini or minor swing high. All right, that looks like it's just about to do it, if not has already. Okay, it's actually a double bottom with a kind of a mountain formation here, double top previously. So there's a couple of interesting things in the price action there. I won't go into much detail on it. Again, that's, I don't know whether that's going to be anything interesting, but it just, the structure of that little area looks interesting. So we'll see what happens. We've got a confirmed lower high there because we've taken out the previous lower low. So you mark that out. And you can start using your fork work and swing plays and things like that on here if you want to. For today, I'm not going to go through that. But these are kind of now going to act as pivots. So you can run through ACR line sets. You can run through fork. You could draw center lines, multi-pivot lines. So for example, I don't know, if I just take a line from this top here, and we'll just mark that out. We'll just see how that sits. For now, we'll leave it. But there's all kinds of tools you can use on these pivots. But for today, we're just really going to focus on the balance point side of thing. So what we're now looking for is, well, we want to try and see whether there's any clues in this little wave, this impulse leg, to see whether or not we can forecast where this is going to end, when it's going to bottom out. So that little area there looked interesting. So maybe we'll just kind of use that to mark it out. And perhaps we've already reached it. Who knows? Maybe that was the low. And if it was, then it's kind of calling the middle of that area, which is interesting. So similar to the previous kind of balance point, as much that it was a mini area where price was happy to do a bit of business, a bit of a coil, a bit of an area, a value area. So that's a wide range bar there. And it's right on the middle of that balance point as well. So there's a bit of a battle going on here. See who wins that battle. Notice how it's also reacted off this underside of this line as well. It's kind of adding strength to the fact that that's a multi-pivot line. It's been tagged a couple of times now. What do we got here? As price starts to bounce away from this line, takes out this low, we can now confirm that that is a confirmed lower high. There is a line there that's interesting. Just because of the fact that it's left some white space behind it and it didn't get revisited. And it took out these guys, these lows, the little tiny pocket of lows there in there. And so that's look at this. Look at that. Double bottom as well. So it is actually a relevant thing to point out in terms of it being a balance point. It actually was the middle of the move where we had this kind of little bit of support that was forming here, and then it kind of shot through it. Didn't really test it on the underside, but it was that particular sort of swing, no, wrong terminology, that particular fast move, that mini wide range bar would have been a nice example of another type of balance point. And again, called the bottom, reaction on the bottom, double bottom there, in fact, was called quite well. Okay, so we've got this kind of fake move, this spike. We've taken out the previous low here. Definitely a bit of a battle going on in there, so that might be interesting to mark. If you go and have a look at like a 50-tick chart or something a bit more granular than the one I'm using at the moment, you might find more information for that battle in there. But something was going on. So again, we'll just mark that out because we have confirmed that we've already kind of done the move, it seems, if that was going to be a balance point. But we have already confirmed this new low here. And of course, that was confirmed because we took that out, which confirms that as the lower high. Had a bounce, took out the next low, confirms that as a lower high. And that's the process to get into. As soon as a low is taken out, it confirms the previous high as a lower high. Excuse me. Oh, I apologize. I thought I'd spare you by muting the microphone just temporarily there. Excuse me again. I will get better. I can feel it, but just not yet. Okay, so looks like we just missed out on that one. But you can sort of see that it's inside that that little battle area. So perhaps not the best example, but it gives you an idea of how you might look for price action as far as these when these impulse legs are forming. You look for clues that can help you forecast where that particular impulse leg might look to finish. And if you've got things like multi-pivot lines above you or below you, if you're trending the other way, if you've got multi-pivot lines above you, in this case, you can use that to create this push trade, which when you're just pushing it, you're just assuming that it's going to continue bouncing away from it, and you look to continue selling it until the trend reverses. For the trend to reverse, you probably want some form of support area to be tested, hold, like a double bottom, which looked like that was going to be forming. The reason I didn't really pay too much attention to that is because it wasn't really taking out anything significant, like a previous low. So once you get that happening, it would be a little bit more interesting. So, for example, this low was lower than the previous. So, forming a double bottom down there would perhaps be more significant, or even lower than that. Excuse me. Well, in this particular case, you do have your base, and I'll just get the lines out and we'll just take a look at this one. Also starts to form just a bit of a wedge pattern there as well, which was broken. Let's just extend this line down too, because you notice how this multi-pivot line, it got some additional touches here as well. So it's probably a better example if I did that. And we've zoomed through it. Now, trading breakouts on these particular things is maybe not always the best idea, but this is a different type of trade now. If we're expanding through a multi-pivot line, then you're either going to be getting some form of fake move, which would be a wash, as in it takes out all the previous stop losses of people that were assuming that this would bounce lower. So they put their stop losses above these highs, and prices washed those stop losses out, so cleaned the book. And then it will just continue to move in the direction it was originally trading. That's type 2. Or it would reverse, which means that it would expand through, take out the previous stop losses like a wash would have done. But instead of continuing the direction it was moving, it actually uses the overside of the line to reverse. And that's your entry. That's where you would want to get in if you're looking for a type 3 trade. That is your spot. And these multi-pivot lines are very, very useful tools for working that kind of strategy out. So wasn't perfect, but gives you an idea. So you had this expansion through, it gets a retracement, tries to touch the other side of the line before it reverses, what looks like it's reversing anyway. And that would have been the entry to perhaps get in. Now we're current, we're up to date. We've currently shot through this. And I'm just going to try one thing before we go any further, using this multi-pivot line as the center, because that is quite a nice line. No, nothing significant. I was just pulling, using the center line, this multi-pivot line as a center, just finding out whether if we pulled a couple of parallels either side of that line, one down here where the lowest was of the day yesterday, to see if we get an opposite and equal reaction on the other side. Currently around about testing that at the moment. We pierced it with the gap this morning, but it looks pretty interesting. This line wasn't really intentional. It was from a previous example. But that's kind of how we framed and mapped the market so far. As for today, the only thing that looks interesting at the moment, just using a couple of tools, is perhaps this line through here. Is that calling any kind of center? And I'm not sure. I don't think that's particularly significant. I'm just going to play that idea through. Wow. All right. Well, there you go. So my thinking was, is there anything significant in this particular kind of line through here? If we pull the parallel down to the action point here, if we get an opposite and equal reaction on the other side, that's not actually that far away from calling it, but I think I am just going out looking for things. Okay, so that is the main part I wanted to show you of how to just simply map a market out with swings, understanding how to draw your lower lows, lower highs, and taking out a previous low confirms a previous high. And well, actually, technically that wouldn't be there because it didn't take out the low. And how you can forecast balance points in the middle of these impulse waves. All right, so that is from yesterday. For today, we'll just take a quick look through the profiles. There's a couple of interesting observations here. First things first, we've already taken out the point of control from yesterday at 426 on CFD. We're currently trading around about the high volume area zone from Friday, which was the value area, and the point of control. We're currently on that level right now. The point of control yesterday was the same as the point of control from Thursday, give or take a few points. And the other interesting observation was this guy right here, which is a low volume zone. Now, these often reject price one way or another. They either reject price in as much that price will just shoot straight through it because it didn't want to trade there, or it will reject price by repelling it away from that zone the opposite direction. So in that case, get out of there, which is pretty much what it did yesterday. Tried to test the zone, got rejected. And so that was quite interesting to see. As far as readings for today, we're currently trading inside yesterday, inside the value area of yesterday. So nothing really significant to say other than, nothing really significant to say. It was just interesting observations based on the profiles from the previous days. And I'll share this one as well, which is a chart I put out in the premium channel. And this was, again, just really a couple of ACR line sets based on some swings. We had a wider trend. We've just gone through the mini or the minor swings from yesterday's price action, which would have been this guy here. But if you take a wider view, we're actually still technically bullish. And so we're really looking for dips to buy. And yesterday's low might well have been a nice spot to get in, but we'll have to continue to wait and see. So the idea was this. We'll take the 3 or 4 most recent pivots as opposed to starting way back there and confusing with high numbers. And we're just looking for a 0, 1, 2, 3. We're potentially forming a 4. And we're looking to forecast where 5 might top out. And you just simply use an ACR line set. Take the center line through 1 and 4. Which we don't yet have, so it's forecasting, very speculative. And we're pulling the action point way back to 0. So the center line goes through here. Your parallel would start there, measure that distance between those 2 lines, do another parallel on the other side, and that would be the potential forecast zone. So potential P5 will be up there. Yesterday's low would have given a nice reward to risk entry, but we haven't yet confirmed that that is a P4. So any longs at this stage feel very, very speculative. Okay, so that's kind of my thought process for today. I'm going to be looking for opportunities, if there are any, to get long. The American indices seem bullish at the moment, and so we're going to be looking to probably just continue to follow that. Trump seems to be pushing down the value of the dollar. That's good for equities. The geopolitical risks are obviously not ideal, but we'll just have to watch and see what happens with it. But I am going to remain bullish. Neck on the line. All right, so there we go. We'll leave it there for today, and we'll be back again tomorrow with another video. Hope you have a great trading day, and I look to get better very soon. Take care, guys.